Hello YarnTubers, welcome back to Wanderlust Crochet with Dana and Benji, and today I'm going to share 20 beautiful projects that are all aimed at using up your stash yarn. Yes, we are in a hotel room today. I am spending the week in my hometown of Emmett, Idaho to get some chores done. And while sitting here this afternoon, I was thinking about some of the stash busting videos that I've seen over the years. And, you know, most of them, many of them are great. I shouldn't say most of them, because most of them are kind of uninspiring to me. I want to make something beautiful out of my stash yarn even. Not just, you know, quick and easy, which it can be quick and easy, but it can also be amazing. So today I'm sharing 20 patterns with you, and I've got a list here. I've got mug rugs, I've got floor rugs, pillows, baskets, blankets, lots of shawls, and one tote bag. Okay, all of the patterns I'm showing you today are on Ravelry, but I think all, if not most, have free versions. This first one, I did want to start out with something really easy, and it's called the Easy Grit Stitch Mug Rug. I mean, these are great pictures with their ice water, and it shows all the different color combinations she's doing with just these, you know, sugar and cream yarns. You can pretty much use any yarn for mug rugs. You know, we don't have to get too picky with them. They'll absorb some of the condensation coming off your glass, but you could make a whole stack of these. You can make them with or without the little boho fringe. You could just leave them as is, you know, weave in those ends. You could put a little single crochet border of them. I like the idea of doing a stack, all one solid color, and then do a stack, all another color. You could really be ready for some gifts and use up a lot of your, you know, smaller amounts of stash yarn to do this project. Number 2 is called the Simple Mesh Mug Rug. Now, this is by Juniper and Oaks, and it is $2 for the Ravelry download, but of course on the Ravelry page down in the notes for more information, there's a link to the blog post. And again, like the last one, on the blog post, the pattern is free. Now, she used a worsted weight acrylic. Oh no, Erin, you're breaking the rules. Seriously, it is fine. For mug rugs, you can pretty much use anything you want. It's just a mug rug, but you can make them really elegant like this. This yarn has such a nice sheen to it, and I like it with that straight edge border on it. But if you like it with a fringe, you could do that really pretty fringe, and just think of all the different colors you could use to do a stack of these. Another thing that's offered on her blog post is a YouTube video tutorial. Number 3 is called the Honeyside Up Mug Rug. This is by Aaliyah Ellison, and it's only in her Ravelry store, as far as I can tell. Now, she used Cascade Yarns Cantata Solids, which, you guys, this is a 70% cotton, 30% superwash merino wool. But you could really stash bust and use up your scrap yarns to make this wonderful honey stitch. It is a Tunisian, but you wouldn't have to use a really long, you know, Tunisian hook. You could probably get away with using one of the standard metal hooks that don't have the big handles on them, and you could use all kinds of color combinations. Just use up everything you've got stored up. Numbers 4, 5, and 6 are all floor rugs. This first one is called the Cottage Rug, and it is by Camilla. I cannot pronounce her last name because she's Norwegian, but I really like the looks of this. It says it's a worsted. The yarn she used is an Aran weight, which is almost exactly the same as the worsted. It's 100% cotton that she used, but again, use what you have. I think by looking at these pictures, she has great pictures of this rug on the floor, and you can really kind of get your imagination going and look at your yarn stash and just see what your version would maybe look like. Number 5 is called South Riding Kitchen Rug. It's published in Chris Toddy's Ravelry downloads. She's offering this as a free download on Ravelry, and she used Red Heart Super Saver. Nothing wrong with some Super Saver, but she did use a 9mm hook. So I am wondering if she doubled up on it. It does say that it is a very heavy rug. And so that tells me she may have doubled up on it. And I really liked looking at the projects, and I picked out some, you know, really good examples of what you could do with color with a project like this. I think this is a pretty simple design. It does say that this is her first written crochet pattern, so be kind, you know, that kind of thing. But I think the colors chosen here are just fabulous, especially with this little guy. Number 6 is the Coastal Indoor Rug by Maria's Blue Crayon. She used Karen cotton cakes and a 5mm hook. Now it's a free Ravelry download, but it's also free on her blog, and of course that's linked on the Ravelry page. She does have a video tutorial linked on her blog post on how to do that special kind of fringe. Now here's another one where I really enjoyed going through and looking at the different colors that were used by others, especially again, this last one just makes me happy. Numbers 7, 8, and 9 are pillows. Now, if you're like me, you have ordered pillow forms off of Amazon and have never made the pillow covers. So I decided to include 3 pillow cover projects. And number 7 is called the Squared Up Pillow by Maria O'Keefe. Now it is listed on Ravelry, but you have to go to this Interweave Crochet site, and the link is on the Ravelry page. That is where you download it. Now it's listed at $7.99. That's what it says that it's listed for. But then you go to the Interweave site, and it's only $4.79. And I think this is a really nice looking project. And if you were kind of in stash busting mode, if you're like me, you would grab those pillow forms, grab the yarn, and use this as a project that not only busts out some of that stash yarn, but also, you know, increases your crochet experience. And by the time you get to a couple of those pillow forms and have them done, you are really good at making pillows. The 2 things I really love, well, there are several things I really love about this project. I love the buttons on the back, and of course, I love those squares put together. Number 8 is the Easy Ripple Pillow by Toni Lipsey of TL Yarn Crafts. And this pillow is done using a form of Tunisian. And I think the rhythmic, you know, nature of Tunisian would be really great for busting out a bunch of these pillows. And this pattern obviously just screams that you can use so many different colors. Again, I went in and looked at all the different colors that were chosen by people doing Toni's project. And then looking over on her blog post, this yarn that she used was actually, it was by Knit Picks, and it was a worsted. It was 70% wool and 30% nylon. It is no longer available. But this is just, you know, another example of using whatever you have. And I just want to mention that also on her blog, there is a link to her YouTube video showing how to do the easy ripple stitch. Number 9, Astrid Pillow by Mallory Crawl. Oh, I love all the different possibilities. And you know what's interesting is she used a worsted held together with a sock mini. So she was using up her sock minis with some worsted. I mean, there are so many different combinations you can do, not only in color, but in yarn weight. I mean, there are 133 projects listed for this pattern, and they're all in these great colors that just blow my mind. I love this one so much. I think of the 3 pillows, this is definitely my favorite. I love these little flower grannies and all these possibilities of colors. Just think of all those minis or whatever's you have in your stash that you could use to make this pillow. Number 10 and 11 are baskets. Now I only did 2 baskets for this list because next month in August, our crochet along theme is going to be baskets. So there will be a whole video of baskets coming out at the end of this month. But this first one is called the 2-Strand Basket. And this is published on the Yarnspirations website. And you use 2 strands of worsted weight cotton held together to make these great baskets. I love the little fold over edge. And again, there's some really great opportunities to use a lot of different colors from your stash. This is another thing that I don't think has to be cotton. I mean, a lot of baskets are cotton, but seriously, they don't have to be. You could use acrylic or anything else that you have sitting around waiting to be used. Number 11 is a really cute idea. It's called the Oval Eyeglass Basket by Chung Yang. And this little basket, I could really picture myself walking in and throwing my keys in it or whatever I have in my pocket. And the description says, make this cute basket in under an hour. And I believe it. It uses, though, like a super chunky yarn. And your purchase includes not only the digital download, but there's a link to a video tutorial on how to work the 2 single crochet shell, and also a tutorial on how to make this pattern into a tote and with tote straps. So there's a lot going on with this one. Number 12 and 13 are blankets. Now, believe it or not, I only did 2 blankets on this list. You know I love crocheted Afghans. The first one is called, this is number 12, Granny's Secret Garden Blanket by Marian Mitchell. And this is from her Wool Thread Paint website. She does such amazing things with color and placement of granny squares. I just adore her projects. Now, this one is less complicated than some of her others. As you can see by some of these pictures, you can do a lot of different wonderful things with color, but it really is nothing more than granny squares with several rounds of border on it. Number 13 is called Collocation, and it was designed by Emma L. Butram, published in Expression Fiber Arts. I have become really fascinated with Expression Fiber Arts patterns, as you're going to be able to tell here after I get out of the blankets and start doing the shawls. But this first one, this is a modular design, and she used a sport weight yarn of her own. It is 100% superwash merino wool, super soft, super fine wool is what they're calling it. And all the different possibilities, again, with stash yarn. I mean, use whatever weight yarn you want. You could use any, honestly, you could use, mini sock minis, you could use chunky. You could use anything. Of course, the different weight yarns are going to cause, a different size of blanket, but seriously, it doesn't matter. Just bust through that stash and make something as beautiful as this. Numbers 14 through 19 are all shawls. And number 14 is this easy rectangular shawl by Relena. And she also, so this is $3 Canadian. This is interesting. It's $3 Canadian as a Ravelry download, but it's $6.50 Canadian as an ebook. So I'm not real sure about that. But on the blog, the Crochet and Crafts blog, it is free. And again, this one's done in a number 2 sport weight, but you could do this in any weight and any colors that you want. Number 15 is the Kiki Shawl by Toni Lipsey of TL Yarn Crafts. I love how heavy this looks in these pictures. She used a hand-dyed yarn that is a number 5 chunky. And looking at all the projects and all their pictures, I believe most of them used a chunky yarn or doubled up on some smaller ones. But this is a great project for just busting out a bunch of different colors. The next 4 shawls are all Expression Fiber Arts. Number 16 is Loon, and it was designed by the Crocheting Car. And this is a crescent shaped shawl and is done in one of her number 2 weight sport weight yarns called Expression Fiber Arts Twisted Tweed Sport. But as you can see, you can use all different kinds of yarn. Number 17, Wallona by Jane Vencelis. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. This she made in Expression Fiber Arts, a mall fingering. So all that sock yarn you've got, here's a great project for it. Number 18 is Chanty, designed by Mandy Anderson. The yarn used was Expression Fiber Arts Mirage Sport, so a 2-weight yarn and an F hook, a 3.75 millimeter hook, and it is just gorgeous. Number 19 is Appetency by Janica York Carter. The suggested yarn, this is a mouthful, Expression Fiber Arts Oasis Camel Silk Light Fingering, using a 3.5 millimeter hook. But you could break out, do you got a bunch of pickle jar yarns? Do you have a bunch of fingering weight that you're not sure what to use it on? This is a great stash busting project. And our very last project, number 20, is the Rainbow Entrelllock Tote Bag by Taryn Lopshire. She used a worsted weight, and I honestly think any Entrelllock project is perfect for stash busting. And you can always find some really great video tutorials on YouTube on how to do this technique. It's really not nearly as complicated as it looks. So all 20 of those patterns are linked down in the description box. Now I want to give you some ideas. You know, what if you went through with a big laundry basket and you went through your whole, your whole yarn room or wherever all your yarn is, grab all the different shades of blues and maybe a couple of neutrals or whatever to go with it, and go through this list, or go through and find your own list of projects that you could make all using blues, and then move on to purples and pinks and reds and whatever colors you really like. I think that's a great way for us to get started on our gifts this year. And I want to kind of bring up the fact that we like to say that there's no such thing as too much yarn. But let's be real. It can become a burden. You know, we may walk into that room full of yarn and just feel fulfilled, but maybe other family members don't feel that way. Maybe they feel a little burdened by it. So, try to take a step back and get a realistic view of the yarn stash. Yeah, it's great to have all those yarn, but why not use that yarn? I like to see no yarn left behind. And I think this list is a great way to get started. What I would like to hear from you is some of your favorite stash busting patterns listed down below. Tell us all about it and tell us how many you've made. Okay? Okay, I love you guys. Bye.